Hello everybody, Alexander Gill here. Hope you're having a great day and your week's off to an awesome start. So yeah, this week I wanted to talk about self-compassion. So self-compassion is an interesting one because I feel as a human race we probably aren't very aware about self-compassion. We aren't too kind to ourselves, and I'll go through the 6 layers of building self-compassion that Dr. Ross Harris taught me. So firstly, I wanted to talk a bit about acknowledging your own suffering or responding kindly to your suffering. So, this is the first stage. So, just to be aware of, okay, maybe I'm a bit in my thoughts here, and I've done another video on thoughts, so feel free to check that out. Or I'm beating myself up because I've got such high standards. Another one can be maybe a traumatic event that happened in the past that you acknowledge the pain and you label it and you take audit and be like, okay, maybe I'm acknowledging it, it's there. So then the second part to the location is diffusion. So diffusion is unhooking. So say I talked a bit in the thoughts video about recognizing it and just thanking the thought and these types of things. But in essence, like when something hooks you, it's like a thing of like a fish hook. And so if that gets in the mouth, it's very hard to get out. But the right technique can unhook. So diffusion techniques are where you identify it and then move on from it. And knowing that you're in control of your thoughts, your habits, your actions, you're actually in control. And the more pollution that you put in, so the more drama that you watch, the more things like that, the more pollution that's going to come up of such negative thoughts or anything like that. But it's the recognition of when these things come up, you're able to diffuse from them. And just before we jump into the third step, I wanted to touch on that no child is going to come out of childhood unscathed. So there's going to be things in there that you're in the first 5 years is where your self-image comes from, and you actually more susceptible to hearing the word no 5 times more than yes. So just recognize and send love to that younger version of yourself, and just say like, look, you are okay, and it's how you move forward from here. So acknowledging your own suffering, then diffusion. Then the third one is the real. I think it's an important part because when was the last time that you really acted kindness towards yourself? When was the last time that you went, "I love you, thanks so much"? Like kindness is a real glue. It's the root of self-compassion even, and I think that it's acknowledging that we are imperfect. Like at the end of the day, I want to throw that out there. What is perfection? What is perfect? Is there anything in the world that's truly symmetrical, that's truly perfect? Oh, this is perfect. Perfection, I think, is a very bad word that's used because as someone whose personality tries to strive towards that, I've reflected on this many times. But actually acting towards it, going, we are humans, we are fallible, we are able to not do things, but as long as you give it your best effort and you earn your pillow at the end of the day, then you know that you've acted with kindness. So just to maybe a tool for that is to, I think, send love. Like just be like, okay, it's okay. Another part of that is complimenting other people. So you do realize why people wear certain clothes, don't you? And often we're so in our own head, we only think about ourselves. But I love going out on a day and just making people smile, making them improve their day. Like a guy at 7-Eleven yesterday, was just chatting with him. How's his day been? You know, helping him see the light. No way, like that's so awesome. Like, what's been the highlight of your day? And walking off knowing the guy's got a smile on his face, but he has to stay in that cubicle because he's trading his time for money at the end of the day. Same with old people. Like if they got a lovely jacket on, oh, I love your jacket. It's a lovely color. You should see the smile on some people's faces. That they're just, oh, thanks so much. People wear stuff because they actually want you to compliment it. So these random acts of kindness can actually contribute to yourself at the end of the day. So the fourth stage, acceptance. So you've acknowledged it, you've diffused from it, you've acting with kindness. You've now accepted it. So these feelings or these emotions, you sit with, you label them, you are actually locating them. You are saying, okay, it is okay to feel that, or it's okay that you did that, or we've all made mistakes in our life, but it's how you act from moving forward and then to really accept it. So counterproductive to this is suppression. So I know as somebody, a recovering people pleaser, I've had 10 years of going out partying. Like T.I., the rapper, says it very well. I don't really understand why people are celebrating each week. What are they actually partying over? So when you actually think of all of this, you just think, okay, well, maybe because the fact that I'm working 5 days a week and then living 2 days a week, that I need to suppress these emotions. Because when you come to the Sunday, suddenly those emotions come up again. So suppressions, it can be alcohol, it can be drugs, it can be cannabis, it can be anything. So that's counterproductive to actually accepting it. So this escape actually stints your growth. So I just wanted to throw that out there. The fifth stage is validation. So to say it is okay. So juxtaposing to that is comparison, and comparison is the thief of joy. So nobody else on this planet gets to be you. Nobody else gets to have the experiences that you have. There's like dependency on here on the gloss of your lens. So if your perspective, and I've done another video on perspective, so feel free to check that out. And shout out to my friend Lily as well. She told me that at 45 seconds there's actually a shooting star that goes behind me, so thank you so much. So cool as well. In terms of perspective, it's how it comes from your programming, because then your programming, so I've done one on self-talk as well that goes through these levels, but your programming, which then goes towards your belief system, which is then your attitude, which is growth-minded, fixed mindset, like those comparisons. But I think that's where your perspective comes from. So if something happens, like I've done one on self-accountability as well, the idea of if something happens, you just say good, and then on to the next thing, rather than dwelling on it, because if you've got a glossy lens, then your focus isn't able to validate, so you're not actually able to come down to this layer to build the self-compassion. So part of that, it can be diffusion, so that technique of unhooking. Feel free to read up on unhooking or diffusion techniques as well. Just don't have too much time to run through that today. Then the last stage is actually connectedness. So where you connect with other like-minded people. So I've actually been blessed to be, I went through a vetting process to partner with a private mentorship group, and they're teaching me on how to build myself. So it's a paid path of personal development. And the whole part of that I've really enjoyed is that everyone's like-minded, everyone's positive, everyone's outcome-driven. So it really take audit of where you're spending all your time, because as you know, you are the top 5 people you hang around with. So those people that are really helping you drive towards your self-compassion, hang around them. You know, they're ones that are talking about the dreams of you, validating how you feel, rather than, you know, joining in or trying to push you towards the suppression. And for all of the guys out there, I wanted to let you know that your pain is not a sign of weakness. Vulnerability is actually a sign of stepping up and being a man. And so just to talk more about our previous point on comparison, I went streamline at 21 years old. I use the word streamline because when you say bald, there's also a stigma behind it. So if I say mental health, you probably think a certain stigma rather than going, okay, it's like someone's gym health or something, but for the brain. Same as saying bald. So I went streamline at 21, didn't know anyone else, would compare myself, maybe get into my own head more. But when you're comfortable and you're sat in your own skin and know who you are, that's when people respect you. And that's by going through self-compassion and actually being truly kind to yourself. There's so much going out in the world right now, and so many things that aren't necessarily acts of kindness. And we're in this time of craziness with racism talk. And as someone who was brought up in London, I only had one friend who was actually fully English. So I love diversity. I'm actually originally from Wales. I was born in Wales. My dad's Spanish, a bit of a different mix. And I truly believe in acceptance of people. But I think that you really need to be compassionate towards yourself. You're your biggest fan, so you have to start at number one. You can't help other people if you don't help yourself. Where you help yourself, then you can help other people, and that's where you make impact. So I truly believe that self-compassion is something that you should really look into, and be kind to yourself. So yeah, I hope that's helped somebody out there, and hope you're being kind to yourself in these times. And yeah, chat soon. Cheers.